Welcome everyone to our Nonprofit Awards 2020. I'm Marnie Nesher, President of the Central New York Business Journal and Biz Events. While this year looks and feels different due to the limit of public gatherings, this event is just as important, more important than ever. This is a hybrid event where we were able to have our honorees in the room to receive the recognition and then share this special program with you, our audience, so that you can watch and share in this occasion and learn why they were chosen. This program brings much needed exposure and recognition to not-for-profits, volunteers, executive directors, and board leaders around the Central New York region. At the event, Biz Events took every precaution as outlined by the CDC and our governor, and safety was our top priority. The Central New York Business Journal has been producing business events for more than 30 years, in addition to providing news and information to help the individual and their business grow in Central New York. Transitioning to virtual events has been a challenge for all of us. I want to thank M&T Bank, presenting sponsor, for their flexibility, their understanding, and their partnership. None of this would be possible without them. I'd like to take some time now to thank our sponsors. A very special thank you once again to M&T Bank, our presenting sponsor, for their continued support of this event for 12 years. You'll hear a few words from Alan Naples, the Regional President for M&T Bank. Thank you to our signature sponsors, Disciplined Capital Management and One Group. Media partners, the Central New York Business Journal and Visual Technologies. A special shout out to Table Champions Loretto and Visions Federal Credit Union. This event was created and produced by our sister company, Biz Events. And now a few words from presenting sponsor, M&T Bank.
Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. I'm Alan Naples, Regional President for M&T Bank. On behalf of my colleagues, we're excited to again be part of the Nonprofit Awards. Today, we celebrate the positive impact of nonprofits, change-making organizations, and hard-working leaders. We recognize their accomplishments and we thank them for all they've done to make the Central New York region a great place to live and work. While the 2020 Nonprofit Awards looks and feels a little different this year, the importance of honoring our local nonprofit organizations has never been more important. Each of this year's honorees work in different industries and focus on different challenges, but there seems to be a common thread that brings them all together. They recognize the value of growing locally, they understand the importance of collaboration, and they're committed to strengthening our entire region, especially during this unprecedented time. Combined, they have served as a driving force to advance our regional economy and have added momentum to the Central New York rise. Our team at M&T Bank shares their passion for our community. We get involved as volunteers and we invest in our neighbors through charitable grants and lending. Like this year's honorees, we believe our community is at its best when we work together. So once again, thank you for being here for this special event. Thanks also to Biz Events and the Central New York Business Journal for organizing this event and awards program. And congratulations to the 2020 Nonprofit Award honorees.
Thank you, Alan. Now it's time to meet the honorees. And for this, I will turn the program over to your host, Megan Coleman.
You might notice something a little bit different. Wearing a mask, we're in an unusual time, obviously, in the course of history, in our community, but we're all starting to get used to the masks now, right? So it's a wonderful, wonderful day here, and we're here to honor some really special people. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy days, venturing out perhaps maybe for one of the first events that you've been to since the outbreak. So things are going to look a little bit different here today, but we're going to do our best to make it as normal as possible for you all. So this is the 12th Annual Nonprofit Awards. It's a wonderful event that I've had the privilege of being at in the years past, and hope that you all have as well. If you are a first timer here, thank you so much for taking, again, time out of your day to be here. So certainly, this is a scaled back event as we deal with the COVID crisis, but we are doing our best to keep things socially distanced and as safe as possible. Hope that you all have enjoyed your lunch here today. Let's give a quick round of applause for folks here at Holiday Inn. We want to get started here with our program today, recognizing this year's judging panel. reviewing the nominations that came in from all across Central New York. And this year's list of honorees are diverse in age, in background, and the organizations that they serve. But they all have one really important thing in common, and that is making a difference in people's lives here in the Central New York community. So let's give a round of applause to all of our judges here today. Lynn High from the Food Bank of Central New York, Alice Majori from the Downtown Committee of Syracuse, Lisa Moore from the Onondaga Historical Association, and John Zella, who was at ACR Health. So you can learn a little bit more about the judging panel in the commemorative event publication. It's produced by the Central New York Business Journal. You should have received it when you checked in today. If not, you can find a couple floating around on your table. And the event publication is also available, by the way, for download. It is free online for you at cnybj.com/2020-nonprofit awards. So we truly appreciate your time and effort for the judges that you all put into these nonprofit awards. We certainly could not have done this without you. So one more round of applause for our judges. So our first category is board leadership. All right, let's talk about board leadership. This award goes to someone who has enhanced the board through a higher level of participation and involvement, who's contributed significantly to the organization through fundraising efforts or creative ideas that they've contributed to or improved the operations of their board, and then ultimately the organization that they serve in their community. Today, we are honoring Pierre Morceau, CEO at One Group Risk Management and Insurance, for his board leadership at the Loretto Foundation. Pierre says that his leadership skills were learned by being a good teammate. Under his leadership with the Loretto Foundation, he has helped transform the way Loretto serves the community. Pierre, please come join me on the stage and let's give him a round of applause. And our microphones are being sanitized, so we appreciate those efforts as well to keep everybody safe. Great to see you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today. Congratulations on your award. Can you give us a sense of your involvement in Loretto and how that all came to be?
Well, I've known about Loretto for a couple decades and was asked to help join and lead the foundation to get it restarted. So one of the great things about the organization is their willingness to be very wide in the way they look at the world. So instead of being narrow and taking care of people, they think about how they can support their employees and the community, and really wanted to kind of raise the bar in terms of how people look at them to go out and raise money. So they'd asked me to come on board, and that's how I got started with them.
Great. So you've been instrumental with a lot of projects over the years. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on now at Loretto?
Our focus shifted. You know, we talk about this being unprecedented times, and I feel like my history with Loretto has been one challenge after the other. I'm sure Kim will definitely identify with that as well in terms of what healthcare has gone through, how it's shifted over the years. And so I feel like we're perpetually reinventing ourselves, and right now it's focusing on not just care, acute care, but how do we take care of the people who care for the people? How do we support them? Kim has been instrumental in a number of initiatives like the Diaper Brigade, realizing that it is our community, everyone needs help, the people that take care of those people. So as we start to raise money for the quality of life as we age, you know, how can we engage the community? How can we stay out of a nursing home or an institutional facility? How can we stay in our houses longer? All of that requires a lot more creativity, including telemedicine, including changing our perspective of whether it's just age that brings us in there. There could be acute rehab. So I think the number of things that we're working on from the standpoint of Loretto is very vast. In terms of fundraising, how do we get that message and how do we get people to really support it and not think of us just as, oh, they're getting money from the insurance carriers or the government or Medicare. So really reaching out and creating that message has been a mainstay of what we're doing.
Thank you so much for everything that you're doing for Central New York, for Loretto, and for your community. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you. And I'm honored that they felt after all I put them through to nominate me. So that was pretty nice.
There you go. A round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So next up is Career Achievement, and this is an award that is presented to a person who's made a lifetime commitment to the community by advocating for nonprofits. This award highlights their achievements that have made a lasting impact in our community. And I am pleased to welcome Hank Leo Jr., the CEO of YMCA of Greater Tri-Valley. Hi, Hank. Welcome, Hank. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being
Thank
with
you
us
for having
today.
me.
Yeah, it's great to see you.
Great to see you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in the nonprofit world?
Well, I've always been in the nonprofit world. My whole career, I started as a volunteer for the Special Olympics in high school and found that very rewarding and learned very quickly that giving back to people is much better than receiving.
Something that feels good inside of you,
Sure
right?
does.
Yeah. So over the past 25 years, you certainly have set a standard for your community in terms of leadership, advocacy, and volunteerism. How do you decide where to give your time? Because you have a lot to give, but how do you kind of figure out, which path to go down?
Well, I used to say yes to everything. I used to,
Hard to say no.
Yeah, anytime someone asked, I would just say yes, and then eventually, over time, I became picky and choosy of the ones that I thought were near and dear to my heart and that I could dedicate the most time to.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, so this is going to be impressive. Ready? Hank is an award-winning author of 5 nationally published books. He has received numerous awards. Okay, this is quite a resume. Employer of the Year Award from Madison Cortland Arc, Oneida Rotary Club, the Bill Ferriell Award for Vocational Excellence, Oneida Chamber of Commerce Distinguished Service Award, Oneida City School District Foundation Wall of Distinction Inaugural Class, and the Chamber of Commerce Business at its Best Award. So there's a lot of accolades there. We commend you for that. So what's left, Hank? What's on your career bucket list?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like I said, I couldn't say no to anybody, but I don't know. I'm also a USA archery instructor. And I think one of my goals is to compete in the Senior Olympic Games.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
I'd like to do
That's
that.
amazing.
Yeah.
A round of applause.
How odd is that, right?
Thank you so much, Hank.
Thank you.
My children would love to learn archery from you someday.
Bring 'em on.
So there you go. Thank you very much. Okay, so our next category today is collaboration. And this category recognizes a successful collaboration between nonprofit and another nonprofit, business, government, or educational entity. The collaboration has resulted in greater outcomes for both organizations. I'm pleased to welcome Shannon Kaye, CEO of Hospice and Palliative Care, to share with us about the partnership between the Abraham House and Hospice and Palliative Care. Shannon. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so nice to see you. So collaboration means to work together. We know that. So can you share with us a little bit about the partnership between Hospice and Palliative Care and the Abraham House? How did that all come to be?
Sure, I'm happy to, but I have to acknowledge my partners in crime here. The leader of the Abraham House in Rome and Utica, Gina Chacha, and the assistant, Kim Todd. Without them working beside me, we couldn't do this. Our partnership started about 22 years ago, which was a little before our time, and it's eventually evolved. We work extremely closely with them. So basically what it is that Hospice and Palliative Care provides the professional services, nurses, physicians, licensed social workers, volunteers, and Gina and her staff provide the medical home, and it's really a home. It's absolutely beautiful in both locations. And with her volunteers and staff and my staff, it's a unique partnership that allows us to provide quality end-of-life care to all of our patients in the community.
So certainly the baby boomers are getting older, and we're certainly going to see a big need for organizations like this over the next many years. How does a family choose between something like the Abraham House versus a hospital or perhaps their own home?
So if a patient is being referred to a hospital versus a nursing home versus their own home, there's a lot of factors going into the decision whether or not to admit them. A patient has to be 3 months or less to go into the Abraham home or to the Rome home. So we look at that. We look at each individual person that's being referred to us, and then they can decide to come to one of those homes. They right now during COVID, it's unique because we're still allowing visitors to all of our guests that are coming into the homes. So families are opting to come to one of the homes versus going to a nursing home where you can't see your loved one or staying in the hospital. Because really, once you get to us, it's about providing quality over quantity, and we want to make sure that every person is treated with respect and dignity and given the very best at the end of life.
And certainly there's so many wonderful aspects that, of care that you all offer to these families and to certainly the people who are staying with you all. If there was one thing that you want people to take away from today knowing about your organization, what would that be?
I think the biggest factor is that there are choices at the end of life. And you have to examine each individual scenario to make sure that you're making the right decision for your loved one. But also, people really need to be having those difficult conversations and letting their family members know their wishes, because all too often when we receive a patient at the Abraham House, the Rome Home, or even on hospice, family members are saying, I wish I'd have known sooner. Because we're getting people and they're passing away so very quickly, and we could have had an impact on the way that they passed away a lot sooner, and they could have had a better experience at the end of life if we'd have been able to to get into the door a little bit sooner than we usually are.
So develop that plan early on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yeah. Our next category today is corporate community support, and we have 2 companies, in fact, that are being recognized this year. This award is being presented to a business that has provided substantial and ongoing support for nonprofits in our community. Their support includes contributions, volunteerism, in-kind services, and/or donations targeted to helping one or more nonprofits achieve greater sustainability. Today, we are recognizing FedEx Ground Support of Ronald McDonald House Charities of Central New York. And unfortunately, the representative from FedEx had a prior commitment and is at a leadership training class, and the staff of the Ronald McDonald House were unable to attend. So let's just give them a quick round of applause. The next Corporate Community Support Award is presented to Visions Federal Credit Union for their support of the Greater Binghamton Chamber of Commerce. Accepting on behalf of Visions FCU is Aisha Jasper, Community Development Liaison at Visions Federal Credit Union. Aisha? Hello.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
You as well.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
So can you share with us a little bit the history behind Visions FCU? How did you all get started in Binghamton?
I'd be happy to. So Visions Federal Credit Union originally began as the IBM Endicott Employees Federal Credit Union. Oh. So back in 1966, we actually started from about 8 employees with $40 total. So humble beginnings for sure. We had 800 people in one branch, which has now expanded to about 210,000 across New York, New Jersey, and PA.
Wow, that's incredible.
So quite a following, and very, very pleased to serve that many people.
That's amazing. So volunteerism, we certainly know, is so important to so many of us in our communities. Why is that important to you all, and how does that sort of fit into your organization's culture?
Right. So for those of you who are familiar with credit unions, we have a shared motto across all of us, which is people helping people. And that's really the core of who we are, and it's thread throughout everything we do, whether it's financially related or not. In the community, to me, that's about meeting people where they're at. There's so much to say about the volunteerism efforts that we do, and a lot of that is connecting our employees with nonprofits in the community that otherwise they might not be aware of, and really deeply embedding those relationships in the community so that without Visions in the picture, they are still very much aware of what's happening in the community and can help in the way that best reaches them. So it's all about engaging and connecting. And then when you have that happen is when you truly are serving the community in a meaningful way.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our next award today is Executive of the Year, and this award is given to a nonprofit executive who leads by example, has a clear vision for their organization, promotes board and staff development, demonstrates fiscal management and longevity within their organization. And this honoree has brought positive impact and improvement to strengthen the organization that they serve. So this year, the Executive of the Year is Michael Collins, Executive Director of the Syracuse Northeast Community Center. Michael, unfortunately, was unable to join us here today, but he did send a video message to share with you all.
First of all, I'm incredibly honored to be named the Business Journal Nonprofit Executive of the Year. It's not something that I ever considered, in large part for, I'm sure a lot of the previous people that have received this award, and the fact that you're doing the work, and so you're not necessarily thinking about recognition. What I am really excited about is this is an opportunity to highlight the Syracuse Northeast Community Center, and I think that it is our ability to connect with others and make sure that we know what our place is in the community so that our neighbors are able to have their dreams, have a shot at their dreams, is what really makes this a fun award for me. Receiving this award is an opportunity to talk about the Northeast Community Center, and I will take one of those opportunities every chance that I get. The Northeast Community Center is a place that helps people get their foundation underneath them, so they have a solid standing so that they can move forward and do what it is that's important to them in their life, whether it's take care of their family, move along in their career, have a place to go when they're older. And receiving this award is a recognition of the fact that the work that we're doing in the community matters, that we are seen as a place that is valuable and has an ability to make sure that we're making a difference by giving people a chance. Syracuse Northeast Community Center is a place that has been around since 1978, and it is built with Dr. Weeks Elementary School. And one of the things that people may not know is that when the community center and school were built together in 1978, it was the very first example in New York State of a community school, of the idea that when working together to support children and families, we can create a community where everybody actually has a chance. Today, Syracuse Northeast Community Center continues in that tradition of making sure that people have their feet underneath them, that people have a solid foundation so that they can build the life that they want. So the last thing that I'd like to add is that there is a new executive director at the Syracuse Northeast Community Center. Brian Fay, who is formerly the Director of Strategic Initiatives for the Syracuse Community Center Collaborative, which makes up 4 of the community centers in the city, has moved over to take over the Syracuse Northeast Community Center as I've moved over to work for the city of Syracuse. I'm fortunate in the fact that in the role that I'm in as Commissioner of Neighborhood and Business Development for the city of Syracuse, I get to support the Northeast Community Center and all of the community centers in Syracuse so that the work of all of these, as they support the neighborhoods and most importantly the people within the neighborhoods, is able to be felt across the city. And lastly, I wish that I could be there in person to accept this award. I miss the fact that we're not able to all gather the way that we should be able to, and look forward to one weekend. Thank you.
Round of applause. Thank you so much, Michael. Our next category today is Impact Award, and this award is presented to an individual or individuals who may be an employee, perhaps they're a board member, or a volunteer of a nonprofit. They've created and or implemented a new program that's changed the organization for the better and has had a significant impact on our community. And today, we actually have 2 Impact Awards. The first is presented to Cheryl Beebe from Carrier Corp and the We Care Group, and their impact on Make-A-Wish Foundation of Central New York. Cheryl could not be with us today, but she did send this message to all of you.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank you for this award, and I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. We Care at Carrier is made up of about 75 employees from the Syracuse Shared Service Finance team. We've been raising funds beginning in 2003 and have been donating dollars to several local organizations within the CNY community. How we first got involved with Make-A-Wish was after 6 years of being the We Care committee lead, I thought it would be a challenge to give back at a higher impact level. In 2009, We Care raised enough funds to grant our first wish through Make-A-Wish. And to date, we have funded a total of 5 wishes. The reason that we chose Make-A-Wish, they're a neighbor to our campus. They're about 1 mile away. And I think their organization is truly committed to help children, and they are a wonderful, wonderful team to work with. In the next 12 months, we're hoping to roll out 2 other opportunities to do some fundraising. Due to COVID-19, we've not had the opportunity to fundraise the last 5 months. But my ideas are, I recently heard about an Amazon Smile, and it was something about if you had an Amazon Prime account, you can be linked to an organization and they can obtain some of the proceeds. And I was thrilled to see Make-A-Wish on the list. Another opportunity that we want to roll out is having employees take their empty bottle and cans to local recycling and add to the Make-A-Wish account. Typically, we collect bottles and cans in our building, but since the majority of the employees are not in the office right now, I'm sure they have bagfuls that they're waiting to return. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to add to the account, to the We Care Group account. I just truly appreciate the nomination and for getting this award. The We Care Group, like I said, is 75 people. There's 3 of us that lead it. So me receiving this award, I'm receiving it on the behalf of us 3 and the whole team. Thank you for this opportunity.
Round of applause for Cheryl. The next Impact Award is presented to Terry Lawless, Affiliate Director of I Support the Girls, Inc. And before we welcome Terry up, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background here. So in 2015, a woman named Dana Marlowe wanted to donate some gently used bras. Around the same time, she tripped across an article by a woman named Rachel Sadin of DCist on the need for bras and menstrual hygiene products in shelters. Most women in shelters had limited or no access to any of these products. Ms. Marlowe posted on social media to get things going. She got the support of friends, and then schools, local businesses, and then even massive corporations like Quicken Loans, the Marriott Corporation, the FDA, and the USDA even joined in. I Support the Girls for Girls, Inc. is a 501c3 nonprofit just celebrating its 2-year anniversary. So a bit of background on this really, really cool endeavor and organization. So let's welcome up Terry with a round of applause. Hi, Terry.
Hi. Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
So let's talk about this chapter here in Central New York. How did this all come to be?
So I Support the Girls nationally and internationally is actually 4 years old, but Syracuse is only going on its 2nd year. A few years ago, about 3.5, I heard a story on NPR, and it spoke about the need for menstrual hygiene products and bras in homeless shelters. I'd always donated to my church groups, to food pantries, toilet paper, toothpaste. I never thought about it, and I'm a nurse. So I got more involved. I contacted them nationally. They gave me a lot of great direction, and we got started here in November of 2018, excuse me. And we've just flown from there. We've had great support from the community, and we've been able to get out so many products to so many people who need them. 35,000 plus already from Central New York this year alone.
So if someone were to say, why do we need this type of organization here in our community? What do you say to them?
We have a lot of people who not only are just homeless, but people who have food disparity, who have homing disparity. And a lot of women, especially in those situations, go uncounted. They don't generally go to shelters. They don't necessarily do those kind of typical things where they can be counted. They go to a friend's house for 3 days. They go to someone else's house for 2 nights, and they take their children with them. Without proper clothing, menstrual hygiene products, all those things, we can't have dignity. And we need to have dignity, and we need to promote that in all of our population. If I'm not properly dressed, if I can't brush my teeth, if I can't take care of myself, going out to get a job is 10 times harder. Going out to help my children at school is a lot more difficult. So these things really, really matter.
And who's involved with this organization locally?
Locally, I'm myself am the affiliate director. I have 2 friends who are wonderful women, Sarah Lee Prince and Rayanne Amelie, who have helped me from the very beginning. I have some youth volunteers. My daughter is here with me now. And then we've had a lot of people who have just joined in. Santangelo's was the first who opened our entire project with a huge happy hour and huge donations, and companies and groups have been wonderful in Central New York. People are very, very generous. It's nice to see.
So how can people help if they want to get involved?
Well, we can find us on Facebook, of course, at I Support the Girls Syracuse, and we'll soon be on Instagram as well. People can send donations. People can organize their own donations. I've had many book groups contact me that say, hey, we'd like to do a volunteer thing. We've chosen your charity for this month. And different social groups. Of course, right now with COVID-19, as with everyone, it's a little more difficult. I do have an Amazon gift list, and I get regular mailings from Amazon, as well as all over the state. Currently, we're the only affiliate in New York State. We have taken deliveries as far as Buffalo. I've gone up to Oswego. We've been down to White Plains, New York, and we'll continue to do so as wherever the need is.
If I was going to tell you today, I would give you $5,000. Wouldn't we all love to hear that?
Yay!
What would you do with that for your organization?
In all honesty, at this point, I was very honored to get one of the Whitesman grants for $2,000. And I think I would work on setting up a better network across our state in order to get more product to the people who really need it. This is a very new organization, and it's something that people don't think about all the time. So it's hard to get people to realize there is help out there and there is assistance out there. So I think that if I was given a large amount of money, I would probably brainstorm and pull in some other leaders, maybe a few I've met in the room tonight or today, and try and put together a better system so that we could get more product out to the people who really need it.
Thank you, Terry, for the work that you guys are doing.
Thank you
It's
for
wonderful.
honoring us. We really appreciate it.
All right, a round of applause for Terry, everybody. Thank you, Terry. Okay, so outstanding fundraising event. As many of you know, there is more fundraising than special events. There are many annual campaigns, major gifts we're all familiar with, planned giving, outright contributions, and many organizations have your typical bake sale or the ever popular cookie sale, even galas, 3K walks and runs. Many of those are happening, some of them virtually as we deal with the COVID crisis. So this award is presented to an organization that does anything but your typical event. So today the award is presented to Crawfish Festival, Operation Northern Comfort. Started in 2006 after Hurricane Katrina, this group traveled to New Orleans to help clean and rebuild. And we all recall the devastating scenes during that period of time. All right, so accepting on behalf of the Crawfish Festival is Laurel Flanagan, co-chair of the Operation Northern Comfort and a member of the Crawfish Festival Steering Committee. Laurel, please join us at the stage. A round of applause for Laurel, everybody. Hi, Laurel.
Hi.
Welcome. Okay, so first question. This is a tough one, Laurel. Tell everybody here the average, okay, how many pounds of crawfish are brought to the festival each year?
So every year we order 3,500 pounds of crawfish.
Wow.
And another 500 pounds of shrimp. And, you know, we order at the very last minute because our festival is the first festival of the season here in Syracuse. So people are kind of coming out of hibernation and they're really excited to see us come down to Clinton Square. And for the most part, the weather has really cooperated and we've had some really beautiful weather and raised a lot of money. But it's not just that's just the crawfish we put in the pots. We have crawfish bread and crawfish mac and cheese, and this year we were going to have crawfish poutine, which was going to be our new thing. But
wow, that sounds good, delicious.
Next year.
Right, exactly. So as Laurel mentioned, unfortunately this year the Crawfish Festival was canceled due to the COVID crisis.
Right.
How does that impact your group when you're unable to hold your annual event?
So the festival is our, we raise most of our operating budget at the Crawfish Festival for Operation Northern Comfort. So this is a huge hit for us not to be able to have the festival, but like everybody's doing, we pivot and we moved our fundraising efforts online. So right now we have an online auction going and you can bid on items that were donated to the festival because we have at the festivals, besides the food, we have music and beer and wine and dancing and crafters and vendors and but we also have these raffle baskets. So you can find the raffle baskets online right now through the end of August, and you can go ahead and go to our website, operationnc.org, and bid on the baskets. There's some great Syracuse products in there.
And if people want to get a little bit more involved in their organization, in your organization,
Yes.
they're interested in volunteering, perhaps they love crawfish, or they're just really adventurous and want to get, in on that action, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, go to our website. We have an information where you can sign up to volunteer right online. I have, you can contact me. You can contact our founder who's with us today, Norm Andrzejewski. I have some brochures here with me today. We're currently working in the Oneida County area. Not a lot of folks know, but they had really severe flooding, Halloween storm of last year, and there's hundreds of people living without adequate heat and with mold growing because there wasn't proper cleanup after the flood. That's what we do. We learned it, back in 2005 after Katrina. And so we're going there right now. We've been able to start working outside. We're doing some work outside. And we also build ramps for folks who don't have the means to do it themselves. We kind of cut through all that red tape because we're a 100% volunteer organization. So we're able to move in quickly, get people the ramps that they need. We work all over the city in central New York.
Wonderful. How many of you, can I get a couple of hands raised, have tried crawfish? All right, maybe a third or so. What does crawfish taste like for the rest of them who haven't tried it?
Well, our crawfish
is it like a chicken?
Best.
Is it a shrimp?
It tastes like like mini lobster. It tastes like seafood. Okay. It's got a good Cajun spice to it. We were actually taught how to. Ours is special, not like any of the local restaurants. I'm not. Ours is
not that you're biased
special.
Or anything.
We were actually taught how to do the boil by the folks from New Orleans. They come up here and they help us every year. And last year we featured the actual captain that caught the shrimp in the Gulf, and he brought it up here. And he's a good friend of ours, and so that makes it put a special spin on making ours really good.
All right.
Not to be missed, first Saturday
Sounds
in May.
great. A little lobster. It sounds delicious. Thank you so much. We'll look for you guys next summer.
All
Hopefully,
right.
yes.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So our next category is Rising Stars, and this award honors a young professional leader who is a member of a nonprofit board or organization who demonstrates strong leadership and promotes community awareness and really makes a difference. Our first Rising Star is Regan Dady, volunteer for the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Central New York. Regan, come on up to the stage. Let's give her a big round of applause. I love this because it's so nice that we can honor some young folks here as well and instill that wonderful volunteerism spirit in them. Hi, Regan.
Hi.
Great to see you. Okay, so Regan, first of all, how old are you?
I'm 15.
15. That's so wonderful that you are already so active in your community. Yeah. I bet your parents are proud of you. So how have these last few months been for you and your sisters, your family? It's been a strange time.
We live in a pretty small house and I share a room, so it's a lot of together time. And I'm ready for it to be over.
Yeah, you're done with the board games, you're done with all of that. Yeah.
The puzzles, Mom.
The puzzles. This has been our house too, Regan, so I can appreciate that. I understand. How did you get involved with Ronald McDonald House?
So my younger sister, who's 12, has spina bifida, which is a birth defect. And so when she was born, my family had to use the Ronald McDonald House in Rochester. And it was always such a great experience whenever we had to stay with them, and they were always so welcoming. And so when I found out we had one in upstate New York, I wanted to get involved because I wanted to give families the same experience that I had.
That's wonderful. And what do your friends think about, your involvement? Certainly there are many young people who are involved, but not all. And so you're a wonderful example for them. What do your friends think about that?
So my close group of friends, we got involved and we did a fundraiser for my younger sister, Maeve, called Hats for Maeve. When she had a surgery a couple years ago, she had to get her head shaved, and so she had to wear a surgical cap to school. So me and 4 of my friends made like a little fundraiser, and everyone wore a hat the day that she came back to school, just to make her feel better about coming back to school with a hat on. And we've raised over $4,000 with that the past 2 years. We've done it annually.
Wow. Well, you have a wonderful life ahead of you, a successful career, I would imagine. I have to ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up, if we had to put you on the spot right now?
I do want to stay in like nonprofit work, but I also want to be a politician.
Oh, okay. All right, so like a state representative, do you want to go to Congress? Would you like to be the president of the United States? What are we thinking here?
I'm not exactly sure what I want to do, but my dad has been a great example. He's in politics, and there's just a lot of things that need fixing, and
So you want to make a difference?
Want to make a difference
in
in
your
the world,
community and in your world?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. All right, we'll vote for you someday. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Round of applause. That is wonderful. Okay, so our next rising star is Brittany Murphy. She is a volunteer for the Salvation Army. And accepting on behalf of Brittany is my wonderful friend, Andrew, and I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, Andrew Sabazade. Did I get it? Sabazade. Oh, gosh, I knew I was going to get it wrong.
We're getting closer every time.
Come on now. See, this is like a news anchor teleprompter's worst nightmare. Andrew, you're going to have to tell everybody your last name.
Sabazade.
Sabazade.
Yes.
I knew that. Sabazade.
Yes.
Andrew Sabazade. I know you and I love you, and I can't say your last name to save my
Nobody
life.
can. I don't think my wife can either.
So Andrew is the Director of Development for the Salvation Army. Thank you so much for being here, for accepting this award on Brittany's behalf.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about Brittany. Who is she?
Brittany's incredible. She's part of our young leaders. She started with us 3 years ago, right out of college. We meet with every one of our board members, and I actually met with her, and I remember, she'll kill me for saying this, but the end is kind of like, what are you into? What's your hobby? And she really liked Justin Bieber.
Oh, well, I mean, who doesn't?
Well, yeah, so she's going to kill me for saying that. So I remember my first impression being like, yeah, I'm not sure. But I mean, she's amazing. She just does so much for the organization, and she works at Pickney Hugo, so she's a great asset.
Okay, and what is the Young Leaders Board? You all have that at Salvation Army. What is it all about?
Yeah, that's our second board. So we have an advisory board and a Young Leaders Board. Our Young Leaders Board has 45 members. It's represented by 42 different companies right now. And they want to make a difference. They're the next up-and-comers. They consider themselves kind of the next who's who in the community. And Brittany's nomination, so she actually meets with all new members of that group.
So this is sort of an opportunity for them to get involved at a younger age and hopefully continue to go on to serve their community.
Yeah. I mean, there's not really an age range. I mean, it's usually 20 to 32 is usually the range of it. But it's really just someone that wants to make a difference here in Syracuse. They see themselves staying, and they want to do something for the community.
Talk to us a little bit about the Salvation Army. You all have been a mainstay in the community for, decades.
Yes, a long time.
So what all is going on with the organization now? It's certainly a challenging time with COVID. How have you all sort of managed over the last 7 months or so?
We've stayed open every day. All of our programs except our senior center are open right now. It's been a challenge, just like everyone else. I mean, we saw a 60% increase in services overall. So we were already serving 40,000 people. So, I mean, if you can do the math, it's wild. But, we have great supporters in the community, and we're battling. We haven't had, knock on wood, with any of our shelters or anything. We haven't had any cases. So everything's staying afloat right now. Everything's good. So just our community supports us.
And if people want to get a little bit more involved with Salvation Army, are there opportunities within our community to do some volunteering?
Yeah. So every 2 weeks we do a food and milk drive that we're always looking for volunteers to help with. We still take volunteers in our pantry. Obviously, you'd have to go through the protocol and whatnot now. And slowly we're integrating more volunteers back in. So we are very heavily volunteer.
How wonderful that you all are incorporating younger folks into your organization. Look out, though, because Brittany might take your job someday.
I've offered her a job twice. So.
Andrew, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Congratulations. And last but certainly not least is the Volunteer Recognition Award. And this is another category where we have 2 honorees to recognize this year. The first award is being presented to Barbara Brace, a volunteer at Road to Recovery CNY. So let's give Barbara a round of applause as she joins us on the stage here today. Hello, Barbara.
Hello. Hello.
How are you today?
I am good. It's so nice that we could all be together so far apart.
Yes, exactly. That's sort of going to be the motto, I think, for 2020. So let's talk a little bit about Road to Recovery, CNY. What is the organization for folks who are not familiar?
Road to Recovery Central New York is a nonprofit, totally nonprofit. I mean, nobody makes any money with Road to Recovery. And we help people who are struggling with addiction to get into long-term recovery. We help them by helping to finance them. And our motto is saving lives one at a time. We started in 2018. We're pretty young, and I do need to do this. I need to point out that at the table behind me, I need to wave Darlene. Darlene Endy is the founder. She and her husband founded the organization. And she's the reason that I'm involved with the organization, actually, because I knew her son, and he is one of our recipients who's doing fabulously. So anyway, Road to Recovery, we help, we identify people who are struggling with opioids, we help fund them, and then we have a family piece to the whole organization also. We involve families because if any of you have ever been affected by addiction, you know that it doesn't just affect one person. It affects their friends, their family, their pets, almost any part of that person. So we think that's really important also to help those people too.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, we have seen the opioid crisis unfold across the country in the last many years, and certainly in our community as well. Can you talk a little bit about some of the ways that you can help people? Because we know that this opioid addiction, it does not just affect one group of people, one race, one socioeconomic class. It can touch every pocket of our community.
Well, first of all, a way that we help them is to just help them get into the treatment. We have a program called the Navigator Program. These are people who are trained to help the recipient or the potential recipient get through all of the red tape and get into a program that maybe that person wasn't even considering doing because they didn't have the way to do it. So that's the first thing. We help identify those people. Then we provide funding for them to get there. We have people accompany them to the rehabilitation center, which is in Texas. And we keep in touch with them. We have people who are actually kind of assigned to, keep in touch and check with people and see how they're doing. And then we have all kinds of things like fundraisers, garage sales, art sales. We had a collaborative effort with the Red House Theater last year where we sold tickets and we got a percentage of that. And we use every penny towards saving lives of people. We also stuff Christmas stockings and things like make Christmas cookies. And there's a job for everybody. Anybody who volunteers, there's something they can do.
That's wonderful. Okay, so here's the part where I get to flatter you.
Okay.
Where you get to blush. You are described, ready, as unflappable, amiable, level-headed, selfless, and always leading with a smile. Those are some pretty beautiful qualities. What do you say to that when people give you those compliments?
Wow, that first one, unflappable. My heart is beating so fast just being up here. I can't believe anybody would call me unflappable. It's really... I don't think any volunteer ever believes that they deserve the recognition that they get. Sure. I'm sort of astonished by those words, but I do know that I'm not up here because I'm Barbara Brace. I'm up here because of all of the volunteers. We call ourselves advocates now, which I think is a great improvement, but because of everybody who works in this organization. And I think those words could be assigned to almost anybody there. So that's what I think of them. I love them. I won't say I don't love them, but I do think that they describe a lot of us.
Yeah, no, that's lovely. Talk about the pandemic. We know it's impacted almost every aspect of our lives, but for folks with addiction, it has not spared them either. How has COVID impacted those who are struggling with addiction?
I'm glad that's the question, because some of the questions about COVID are obvious. We can't raise money. But I don't know that people realize that if you are an addict, you need constant support from other people. There are support groups, there are one-on-one meetings with coaches, there are times when people all get together, and they need those things to stay healthy and to stay sober. When COVID hit, those kinds of organizations, those kinds of events, and those services were stopped or minimally made socially distanced and kind of hard to do, and you couldn't be around your friends. I think that's one big thing. We've had a couple of people in our organization that we have helped who have relapsed. Fortunately, they're all doing okay now. But it's so easy to just forget that, yes, those supportive things underneath are just as important as the fact that we can't have a fundraiser. So I guess that's the main way for the people that we help. The other one thing is we can't go into Texas or Georgia right now, or maybe it's come back out. I'm not sure which it is. And that's where we do a lot of our long-term recovery, is in Texas and in Georgia. So that's a problem. We can't get people back and forth.
And you can't leave folks in isolation, even though, we've been taught to socially distance and be really careful, right? So if folks know someone who's struggling, reach out to them, if not in person, through, a FaceTime or some kind of Google Hangout, some way that you can actually, or even just on the phone, right? Just connect with them in some way.
Yes. And that's kind of where our organization has been going with this pandemic, because we also can't have meetings other than by Zoom, and we certainly can't have events and that sort of thing. So one of my best benefits is that I'm getting a little bit more
tech savvy.
Tech savvy. Not a lot, but a little bit more. So that's been helpful.
I think all of us have. Thank you so much for all that you all are doing.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And our final award here today is being presented to Dr. Ahmad Rahim for his volunteer work in the Central New York community, specifically for the Good Life Foundation, an organization for at-risk youth. Dr. Rahim, I will welcome you to the stage with a round of applause. Welcome.
Glad to be here, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here today. It's nice to see you. Can you talk about, you're involved in so many organizations in our community. So how do you decide where to spend your time and how to devote that?
Well, I was a troubled youth. I was an at-risk kid. So I dedicate most of my time in working, supporting, volunteering for organizations that give back to the youth.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you kind of came to be?
Well, I was actually born in a concentration camp. I came to this country as a refugee. I was a genocide survivor. And like most kids, I struggled with poverty, violence. I'm also dyslexic. So if it wasn't for some great people in the community, Mr. Willie Dardell, Judge McKinney, Miss Littlejohn, those people that mentored me, I would not be in the position I am today.
How old were you when you came here as a refugee?
I was probably three turning 4.
Okay. And when you finally connected with some of these folks who supported you, how old were you and how did they help guide you on that path?
Probably not until I was a delinquent, a teenager. And they saw something in me. I didn't necessarily reach out for help. They just saw something in me. People like Mr. Willie Dardell and Judge McKinney gave me multiple chances, gave me multiple options and opportunities to evaluate my life and pivot. So sometimes we can't wait for the young people to ask for help. We have to reach out to them.
And you certainly are not the only person with this sort of story. Some of the children in our own community today continue to struggle and are at risk. Can you tell us a little bit about those youth, those at-risk youth in our community, and how you're working with them?
Well, right now, especially during COVID, many young people, without saying it, are struggling with mental illness, right? Depression is growing in our community. And part of that depression may also equal into the violence that we're seeing in the community, right? Isolation, coping mechanism, addiction, all these things. So as parents, as adults in the community, it's important to check in, not just with our kids, but with our kids' friends and young people in the community. Just check in, take a temperature check, make sure that people are okay, make sure that they have what they needed, the resources, especially now that school is starting again. There's gonna be a lot of young people that need those school supplies all over again.
Do you find that you're able to connect with some of these at-risk youth because of your own background, your own life experiences, and what kind of message do you share with them to try to help them go down a better path?
I think our stories are unique and our stories are important. So in order to connect with someone, especially with young people, because they kind of see if you are faking it, right, is to be vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable. It shows empathy towards what they're experiencing, and they also know that we are human, that we're struggling with the same thing, but you don't necessarily have to have the same story, right? You don't necessarily have to have the same backgrounds or the same struggles. I think we all bring a lot of great resources, great experiences, so just trying to figure out where you fit in and how you can help is critical. It's very important.
Where were you before you came to the U.S.?
I was in Cambodia. So I'm like I said, I was a genocide survivor, born in a concentration camp during the killing fields of Cambodia.
So you think about, from birth to all the struggles that you went through as a young one, right, as a toddler, then here coming into Syracuse and all those life experiences that you've had, and now here you are today sitting on the stage receiving the award. What does that mean to you, looking back, the culmination of all these life experiences and now being recognized today?
Well, first off, it's an honor being here. It's an honor being recognized. But I think when you're doing the work, I think a lot of people said this, when you're doing the work, it's very difficult to reflect, right? You just keep going. And what's happening in the city of Syracuse, what's happening in our school district, what's happening in our detention centers and within the streets, it's very important for you to continue to do the work. But as people that volunteer, people that are in nonprofits, it's also important for us to take a break here and there. Right, it's also important for us to reflect, rejuvenate, so that way we can go back and do the work better, right? The important piece is that we don't forget our souls as human beings and don't fall back and end up struggling with our own depressions and mental illness and things like that, especially what's happening within our society.
So I think it's probably hard not to be inspired by what you do and what you have done in our community. For folks who hear your story, they hear your message, they see what you're doing for these at-risk youth, and they find themselves feeling inspired and wanting to get involved, what can each one of us do to try to make a difference here in Central New York?
There are a lot of organizations that need volunteers. Obviously, they need resources, funding, and things like that. But I think advocating for those organizations and for those at-risk populations that are underrepresented is very important. Is advocating for their needs, figuring out where your resources are, where your network is, and how you could support them to help further their cause is also important. And continue to reflect on what you're doing and how you could influence your community, your neighborhood to improve what's happening in those places.
I hope we see a lot of folks following your footsteps. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, so one more big round of applause for all of our honorees here today.
Under normal circumstances, this awards program would be in person and the room would be filled with friends, family, and businesses supporting our nonprofit honorees. These days, not much is normal. This event was postponed from March, structured a little differently and on a much smaller scale. I hope you enjoyed meeting the honorees, and please consider volunteering at one of the nonprofits you learned about today. Reach out to them and see how you can help make an impact on the success of their organization. Again, congratulations, honorees, and thank you for all you do in our community. We hope you enjoyed the 12th Annual Nonprofit Awards. Please stay healthy and safe.